Hi, it's Lori from Coast to Coast Craft Girls, coming to you from the West Coast. Today I wanted to share a fun take on sort of the triple stamp card, but this uses different shapes and kind of a cutout look, which I really liked. So it's actually pretty easy to do, so let me show you how it's made. So I got a 5 by 6.5 inch card base. It's just a white card base. I'll set that to one side. Then I've got a piece of watercolor card that is 4 3/4 by 6 1/4. So it's going to go onto that card base, and I've just got some black that's going to go on it, but we'll get to that in a minute because I'm going to ink my I have to ink my card. So we're going to start with, I've got a bunch of water reactive inks here. But before I do that, I cut a circle out of masking paper, just with a punch, and that's going to be my sun setting. But I'm going to cut my my square out, because that's going to go on the card, and it's going to go right on the side. So I got to decide, you know, my square is going to go here. So I'm going to kind of put that. It's going to be about right there. So then I want my sun to be in that square. Okay. So we're going to just kind of put it right there. All right. Now I've got my sun in there. I'm going to use a piece of scrap card to just kind of create a little bit of a horizon line. And I'm going to put my blue underneath it because I want it to look sort of like water a little bit, but I want my horizon line fairly low on my card. This is watercolor card, by the way. So I'm going to put and if you want to kind of get it straight, so I'm going to put about an inch, and I'm just going to hang on to it. Is that straight? That's not straight. No, that is straight. Okay, so, and we're just gonna blend some blue in there. Okay. And that's with Midnight. I'll clean up the mess. You always want to clean up in between colors because you don't want to contaminate your inks. And then, now I'm going to start from the horizon line up. So we're going to start with sort of the pale yellow, which is straw bale. Then we're going to go into Honey Pot, which is a more goldy kind of a color. Then I've got some orange. And finally, I've got Chinese red. I'll move this up, but I'm going to still use that. I don't want any fingerprints, so I'm going to continue to use my piece of card. I'll blend just a little bit of Midnight lightly. Across the top and down this side just to sort of darken the edges where this, because the sun's more over here, so I'm going to darken that side just a little bit. Okay. Now I'm going to peel my mask off. And that sun is way too white. So we're just going to take the light yellow and blend in. Now that looks better. Okay. So there's my ink blended background. Now I'm going to do some stamping. Get my stamping platform out here. And I've got some stamps from Inkylicous. I've got this, it's called Windswept stamp set, and it's got these grasses and some birds. I'm going to start with those. And my grasses are going to go right down here in the bottom, coming just off the edge. I'm going to stamp those in some VersaFine black because I want it to be a nice silhouette look. Then I've got some birds that I'm going to put in. They're going to be flying some across the sun and some not. Then I feel like this side needs a little bit more. This actually is going to get cut off, so I don't care too much about that. But I feel like it needs a little bit more. So I've got this other tree stamp from Inkylicous. But I don't want to put a tree in. I just want the branches. I'll do it a little bit differently. So I'm going to put it this way because I just want the branches kind of coming out into as if the tree was growing out over that water. So I'm just going to ink up the end of it like that. And see how you get the sense of a tree being off to the side. So you can use your stamps in ways that are not necessarily the way they were made necessarily to be used, but because this is obviously a full tree that's meant to be stamped like, like that, but you don't have to use it that way. And it gives me just the look of that branch coming out over the reeds, which is exactly what I want. I just wanted something in that corner. And now I'm going to cut this twice. So I'm going to cut first, I'm going to cut my square out, and that's going to give me my first. And this is just a square nesting die. And I'm going to kind of get it even, and it's right on that edge. About an inch and a half. And let's come down just a little bit. There we go. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the square. Oh, and this square is 3 inches. Okay, so there's my square. Leave that on. Now I've got another square, which is 4 inches, and I'm going to cut a piece out of that And I'm going to kind of just sort of eyeball it, and I want it even here and here. So it's about, so I want about an even amount there and there, and here and here, and that looks about right. Now I know this is looking a little weird, but bear with me. Now I'm going to get my paper trimmer out. So if you think about it, I've got my square. I want to cut this back a little bit. So my square's in here. So if that's a 3-inch square, okay, right there. So I want to cut from this edge back about 1.5 inches. Okay, so 1.5 inches. So there's my pieces. Okay, now this is going to go in here, and I want to do the same thing with this piece. So I want to cut back, and this time I'm going to measure from the other direction. So I want it about 2.5 inches from this edge. Okay, so let's go 2.5 inches. Now, when I put this together, and then I'm just going to mat these on black, and it's going to look like that. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't actually need to cut that out because it's going to be behind the other piece of card anyway. So this is going to go on here, just like that. Then I'm going to put that one on there, and I'm going to put it on with some dimension. And then that's going to go on there, just like that. Okay. And then I'm going to stamp a sentiment on here before I now these I'm going to put on with some foam. Now this one's going to go on with some foam too, but it's got to go a little bit higher than that one. So let me see if I've got... There we go. And we're all done. I love that. I think that is so cool. Now you could put some pattern paper behind if you want, but I actually like the looks of that. So hope you like that. Thanks for watching.